Hey students, welcome to week one. These are some of the objectives you're looking at on the screen for this first week in our personal finance class. We're going to be looking at chapters 1 and 2 out of the book here. So I think most of you have got this by now. If not, make sure you get it because we're going to be using it quite a bit in this course. But from chapters 1 and 2, we're going to be looking at relating your personal finances, or understanding your personal finances to determine the goals that you hold and how they affect your success and that sort of thing. So really we're digging into this week about your goals and how your finances line up with your goals. And that's kind of the second bullet here is we're going to look at helping you understand your current position of your finances and better understand what you can do to improve to meet some of your financial goals. So I'm going to talk really briefly about chapter 1, just going to skim across the top real quick here. Again, these are just selected highlights that I'm showing you. Be sure to read the entire chapter though, okay? Some definitions. We're going to look at the definition of what a personal financial plan is. I'll show you a slide or two here in a second. You can see that. And keep in mind, this plan specifies your financial goals and what it's going to take to it's going to describe the spending and the revenue to get you from where you're at today to where you want to go. And that's the personal financial plan that we're going to be looking at. Well, what are some of the components of that plan? Like, what does that mean to have a financial plan? This is just a real quick list of the structure of what a plan would include. It's going to include budgeting information, managing your liquidity. Liquidity is just a fancy word for cash, okay? Whenever you have a cash on hand, you're very liquid, if you will. If you have all your money tied up in a CD, or not that you'd have a 401k, but if it's tucked away someplace where you can't get to it quickly, maybe you've invested it some, it's not very liquid, okay? So liquidity always talks about how much cash you have on hand ready to spend, your savings account, your checking account. But you're also going to look at part of your financial plan would be to understand how you're going to finance large purchases like a car, a home, that sort of thing. What are you going to do to protect your assets with insurance? What's it going to cost? What's reasonable to cost? How do you invest your money so your money grows throughout time? And then eventually looking at, towards the end of your career, your retirement and your estate. So these components become the backbone of not just the plan, but really for how this course is laid out over the next 8 weeks or so. We're going to look really quick at developing this financial plan. But again, this is covered in chapter 1, so make sure you read about it. First step is you have to understand what your goals are. What are your goals for college and home and your family, wealth, charity? What do you want to give away? Keep in mind these goals have to be realistic. You're not, unless you're Bill Gates, for example, set some realistic goals for yourself. You're not likely to make, $10 million your first year out of college, that sort of thing. Timing of goals. There's short-term goals that are like within a year or so. Those are fairly immediate. Then there's intermediate goals like that 1 to 5 year, and then long term is beyond 5 years and towards retirement. So the first step is establishing in terms of understanding your financial plan is just to understand what your goals are. Then you need to consider what does it take to get from where I'm at today, that's your current financial position, to where I want to be, that's your goal that you're looking to establish. So you need to understand how your future financial position is tied to your education. I can guarantee you that you are getting a college education will put you into a different bracket of finances than people who don't go to college. So good job to you for being in college. Make sure you stick with it and finish. But think about your skills, your interests, and your career path and that sort of thing. No one's asking you to have your entire career path laid out right now. Goodness, I think I had 5 major, maybe 6 major career changes throughout my time, and that was after college. So also understand your future financial position and where you want to get to, and it's definitely tied to your career choice. Okay, so make sure you choose a career that you like, that you're passionate about, but it also can suit your lifestyle and the things that you want to accomplish. When you think about a financial plan, think about how your future financial plan is actually tied to the economy. If you think about, many of you may not remember this, or maybe you remember but you weren't tied to it really closely. In the 2008 Great Recession, life turned upside down for a lot of people. in, like the slide says, a lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people just lost their positions altogether. Companies closed. Lots of people went on furlough. Some people had their salaries reduced, health benefits cut. I mean, just the list goes on and on and on. At the time, I took over as superintendent at a Christian school in 2008, and I was there until 2016. And I started just before the economic crash in September of that year, 2008. And we had people who went from being donors to the school to people almost overnight who needed to be, they needed financial aid to keep their children in school. So just understand how the economy impacts your plan and be somewhat flexible with that. Third step, identify and look at alternative plans. Do you want to be conservative in your planning as you take care of your finances, or aggressive? How robust is your plan going to be if the economy does tank? And then focus on what the best plan might look like. And you're going to have a chance in this course to put some of this planning together. Chapter 2. We're looking at planning with some personal financial statements. Some of these statements you might recognize, some of them you might not. The first big one here is what's called a personal cash flow statement. It's another word for budget. So at least in this course, the two terms are somewhat used interchangeably. And a cash flow statement is, it's a financial statement that measures a person's inflow and outflow of cash. I'll put a little picture of an ocean water flowing in and flowing out. So think of your cash flowing in to your account when you have revenue coming in, and flowing out when you're spending it, okay, on expenses. You definitely want more inflow than outflow. Factors that do impact your cash inflow, again, that you're in college is going to significantly impact your career choices and your money-making opportunity for the rest of your life. But make sure you pick a job that you like, okay? And you also consider like the number of people making money in your household. So if you get married, maybe you're already married, but if you get married, it is best to make this decision before you get married. Are one of you or both of you going to work? And, that's a personal choice. My wife and I made a choice that only one of us would work. And so that was me, and my wife decided, and we decided before we got married, this is how we're going to live, and that she would be home with our kids. And we have 4 grown adult kids now, but they were little at one time. And but we set our lifestyle so that so we counted on one income. Make those choices now, or as before you get married, if that's in your future. Things that do affect the outflow of cash, that cash heading back out to sea. More kids, size of your family, more expensive. We had 4 kids, and it was expensive, but we wouldn't have traded it for anything. Think about how old you are. Thinking about your personal lifestyle and your consumption, like what is the things that you'd like to spend your money on. This chart's out of your book. This is Exhibit 2.2. If you can see this down here, so this is a graph rather. Cash inflow is pretty high on this graph. As you go up, cash coming in goes up. As you go this direction, you get older. Listen, you're in your college age years. You don't have a lot of cash coming in. That's just the way it is. You'd be the exception. But during your career, you do steadily make more. You make more and more money. Then when you get to retirement, you just drop off, but you're older and you've saved for it, and you've got fairly flat expenses. I am about, at this point right now in my career, I'm 57. I've probably got another 10, 13 years in me that I want to work, and then maybe I'll retire when I'm 70, early 70s. So I'll be approaching this part of my life in the next dozen years or so. Creating a budget, again, budget is just another word for cash flow statement. It's based on your forecasted cash for a certain time period, not for the rest of your life. My wife and I, we redo our budget every year. Sometimes I redo it twice a year. If I get a raise or something goes upside down in our finances, we have to redo things. Read about budgets in Chapter 2. All right, we're going to finish up here. Make sure you read Chapters 1 and 2 completely. Check the syllabus out for due dates for your discussion question 1 and 2, the due date on the assignments. Make sure you reach out to me with questions that you might have. All right, remember, God is still on his throne. Have a great week.